What's going on? Move the Mouse here, back in City Skylines, the town of Santa Rico, with our Let's Play Season 2, episode number 22, if I'm keeping track correct. And at the start of this episode, I wanted to do some basic maintenance. In fact, that's kind of the theme over the next week. These episodes are going to be a little bit shorter. I know everybody kind of likes the longer videos, but my wife and I are doing a bit of a staycation and getting some projects done around the house this week, so I'm gonna have a little less time on my hands, but I still want to continue with the daily uploads, make some minor improvements as we go, and hopefully I'm shooting to get this city up to 150,000. The death waves are not helping me out right now. As we can see, if we go to city info and over to statistics, population's still on the climb, but again, we are having a massive death spike, so happens. Kind of tough to avoid. It will eventually calm down. We can go into our economy and our budget and crank up medical again. Get that all the way up to 150. And that'll send out more hearses to pick up the bodies. I hadn't done that yet. I forgot that that was back down to 100%. That'll eat into the money that we're making. I've got the game paused right now because I wanted to do, again, let's start kind of with the theme of some basic maintenance. And we spun up this neighborhood with the monorails in the last episode, but I don't think I did any fire or police coverage over here. So let's kind of take stock of kind of where everything's at. So electricity wise, we're great as long as our fusion power plant isn't bursting into flames like it did recently. And water coverage, we're okay on the sewage side, but we could probably use a couple extra pumps. So let's kind of work our way through the list and do some of that basic maintenance that we need to do every once in a while. Zoom way in, kind of cram a couple of these right in here. 2 pumps should bump us into the comfortably into the green, I would think. Let's hit play for a quick second, watch those become active, and see how that changes. Yeah, we're into the green. That's good. Even before they've technically lit up, which is kind of weird. Oh, so let me bring this up too, because someone had mentioned that the eco-treatment plants do produce a little bit of pollution. I don't know that that's the case. I'm not 100% on that. I can tell you, though, that with the Eden project, you don't have to worry about it. So we have 0% ground and water pollution. The buildings themselves, I guess, are a little bit off color. The buildings have a little bit of pollution. You can see that if we go over to where are they? A recycling plant. Like, the buildings themselves are polluted. Industry buildings themselves have a tiny little bit of a tint of pollution, right? One up kind of from the basic white non-pollution, but none of it spreading into the ground. And over here, none of it is spreading into the water. Now the water is the same color out here as it is in here. It's not enough to I think cause any problems, and we haven't seen any sickness icons come up. We do have a death wave happening. I think it's totally unrelated. We'll keep an eye on it. If the death wave never subsides, maybe we'll move these, but I don't think it's an issue with the Eden project because we're reporting 0 ground and water pollution across the board. But we'll keep an eye on that. Hopefully I didn't poison all my citizens. I don't think it's an issue, though, with the eco-treatment plant and with the Eden project in place. So just kind of working our way through the list. Fire and police coverage is pretty good, except for that new neighborhood we've spun up. Fire safety is good. It's kind of weird, this row of buildings that thinks it's not fire safe. This is kind of on the edge of coverage, but definitely over here we're light. So let's find a spot in here. Let's throw in a fire station on this block. We'll throw a police station, and then let's look at our med coverage. All in the green right there. Where's our nearest hospital? Way over here. That seems to be covering just fine into that new neighborhood, so we'll leave that. I think that works. Let's take a look cemetery coverage wise, just to make sure everything's in the green. With all these people dying, we want to make sure that Not too far to pick up any of the bodies. Should be okay there. Now, and this is kind of an odd one, right? You have tons and tons and tons of capacity in all of these buildings thanks to our Hadron Collider. If we look at education, right, we've got million capacity across the board. So it's not a capacity problem, it's an accessibility problem if anybody's not getting educated. But it looks like most of our residential is very well covered. You can see kind of who's graduated, who hasn't. So high percentage of graduation are these light blue buildings. Low percentage could be just people that moved in and haven't graduated yet. But you definitely see a higher concentration over here. So let's throw a couple education buildings so that people have nice, easy access over here in our newer neighborhood. So I'm going to throw these kind of off to the side. That should cover... Let's throw it on this block because our residents are these 3 blocks right here. We'll give them a nice fancy building. Let's look at university coverage over here. Definitely need a west side campus here if we can cram one in. This covers a much larger area. Can we get it on this block? We could. The university kids, they like to party, so we'll throw them in the leisure district over here. I don't mind the noise. And I might just de-zone this piece right here. Only because we don't want really small buildings moving in. We could plant some trees, fill that in a little bit. Traffic is super heavy over here. As you can see, all these trucks coming off the highway. Some of them may go to export off map, but it looks like a lot of them are coming back into the city. And they could be exporting that way off map as well, I guess. But what's most likely is that these are coming back into the city. A couple episodes ago, I added a metro route down here. And that helped a ton of our traffic problems. We still don't have an entirely revamped system. At some point, we're going to do a Metro 3.0 because we had a really simple line to start. We revamped and did some of these loops down here in the major downtown area. And I'm sorry for all the skulls. I know it makes it tough to see some things. It can be a bit distracting. But when I added this route in here, this cleared up a lot of our traffic problems at some of these major intersections. Now we still have a couple problem spots. We were at 75% traffic flow, which is, I think, the best it's been. It's been hanging pretty consistent. You can see where there is some backup, and this is starting to build back up again. All this traffic coming in over here. But for the most part, it's pretty good. Like if this highway is getting backed up, you can see it's not really backing up into the neighborhoods, which is nice. This has cleared up quite a bit. In addition, because of all the bike traffic that we have now, I made these major avenues accessible to bicycles, make it a little bit easier for people to get around, and it is definitely helping reduce some of the traffic. So we're doing pretty good on that front. Traffic-wise, I do want to figure out kind of where we can cram in. Maybe some more residential up here. Off in this corner. It's pretty well serviced for now. And we've got next to no demand right now because we've got still some zoning here that isn't filled out. So if you look here, you've got high density residential people can move into as soon as they want to. Same thing with commercial for tourism, commercial for leisure, and then office space is meeting our industrial needs over here. So those bars in the bottom right, those should pretty much stay empty all the time because as soon as there is demand, there's space right away for people to move into. Generally, you don't want to overzone, but it's okay in this case. We're pretty happy with our city growth. We're at 133. Like I said, I'd like to shoot for 150 here. We're at 5% unemployment right now, which is awesome. That is great. I mean, in a perfect world, there'd be 0% unemployed, but that is a pretty good number considering how many people we're trying to move around this city. Happiness-wise, we're doing pretty good. Most of them are in that top-tier happiness bubble. Some of the commercial space is a little less so. And if we zip around our map, we might be able to find some of the buildings in the commercial areas that are a little less blue, right? They're a little bit more on the green side. These don't help that they have dead bodies just sitting at the buildings. But overall, happiness is pretty good. We could go in and drop some parks and some buildings that affect happiness. In fact, we don't have any park over here in the industrial area. We don't have much in this area either. So we could look at dropping some of those in to kind of improve happiness. But again, everybody's almost top tier, so can't really complain there. Something that does help out quite a bit with that is the Eden project, and this is our land value. And you can see pretty much anywhere on the map. Off the map, we don't have any impact, but anywhere on the map, you get top tier land value everywhere. So higher land value means more tax revenue for the city. But again, at this point, I'm not too worried about the money. As long as we're on the positive side, even just a little bit, you know, we're bringing in money for the city, and we've pretty much put almost everything that we want to drop into the map at this point. Now, the outside connections, you can kind of see what types of products your industry is working with. I must have a fire station over here, right? I do. It's right here. It's kind of on the other end of this block. They should be getting over there. Traffic is definitely the heaviest it's ever been here in the industry. You can see that we do have some backups happening. And unfortunately, that's impacting our fire truck's ability to get down here right now. I haven't actually seen this get backed up so bad. Let's put it on 3x speed. That is pretty bad. This zone hasn't been backed up like this. So these fire trucks are coming to put out this building. They won't be able to put out this one, unfortunately, so... Is that them? That is that. Oh yeah, that's a fire truck. There we go. They're gonna get to that one first. This one might go up in flames, unfortunately, due to the traffic here. Okay, this hasn't been an issue yet, but it looks like yeah, traffic's getting a bit backed up now. Not quite as high functioning as my last industrial zone. Doesn't tend to be too much of a problem, except when you have a fire on the end of the block like this. I'm going to stay and watch this one, because if this building next door catches fire, they're already en route to put this one out. And they won't then go backwards to put another fire out next door. Looks like we'll be good there. So we might need to look at this traffic here. Potentially, so we have some buildings that they actually pull in from this street into here. The face of this building is on this street. We might turn this into highway with on-ramps, kind of like we did over here. Kind of do the same thing getting off. And maybe kind of speed out and separate the traffic a bit. Because right now this is just too heavy at this end of the street. And we could give them kind of a route. Let's do that right now. Give them kind of a route to get to the highway a little bit differently. We will move... No, I don't want to rename it. I want to move it. Where do we want to move it to? We cram it in there? No. Let's move it somewhere for now. Like over here. And let's do a little adjustment, because this is not ideal. So... kind of do the same thing we did over there. let's break out our bulldozer and change this around a little bit. So we'll remove these roads, right? No 2-lane roads here. We'll do our regular roads. We'll come out just a couple clicks. Let's say 5. And we'll run down here. So we're even with there. Then let's connect that through and fix our power lines before we forget. We don't want industry to be without power. So here's what I'm thinking is we'll kind of do the same thing that we did over here with the on-ramps. Get people straight out to the highway, have a couple more lanes. And then we could even look at potentially a left-hand exit underneath that comes over back that way, but let's figure that out in a moment. So let's get these connected. We could come down at a little bit of an angle like that. I think this will help improve the traffic flow a little bit, but let's see. I could be wrong. Sometimes sometimes you make things worse. So we'll break out our upgrade tool. We're gonna upgrade these. That might de-zone a business there, but that's okay. We're gonna upgrade these to on-ramps. It looks like it did the right thing with our directions, which is good. Knew exactly what I wanted to do there. That's great. I should have first done highway. We'll do 2-laners here. That should be fine. So let's see if this improves the speed at all. The traffic flow here. Let's give it a minute to get caught up. It should allow for faster merging of traffic. Though I could be wrong. We might still have some of the same pile-up problems. Still allows the same thing, right? Everybody can turn in and come back into the zone if they wanted to. What we could do... I was hoping that would handle a little bit faster traffic. We could upgrade this. The 2-lane highway. Also, let's see. Because right now this is just a big single lane on-ramp. And things are backing up a little bit down there. All right, well, so much for that. What I might need to do is still provide that road for people to turn back into the zone, but separate out the on-ramps into their own lane. Because right now, all I did was move this problem over and give them a kind of a faster way to move on this segment, but they still have all the same points of intersection. So let me try. Now this is just a really sloppy fix, real quick. Let's see. Can we... if we can do this. So you still have this road right now. It doesn't necessarily solve anything. Let's delete this one little segment here. What I would like to do is kind of tunnel this underneath so that this doesn't impact the on-ramps. Also, we have 2-way traffic there. We don't want that. I need to redesign this a little bit more efficiently. And we'll come up with something for that. But any of the traffic that's turning back into the zone, we want to stay on that road. Any traffic that's going out to the highway, we just want to go out to the highway. But it's not like I need kind of a split here. I need to go kind of left or right and then hook one under the other so that that traffic gets separated out so that they're not kind of crisscrossing here. So we can move this out a bit, you know, move the highway on-ramp kind of way over here. Because if you're getting on the highway, it's because you're leaving the zone. We don't need, you know, police or fire coverage to come out here. They can just loop back around on that street. So I'll come up with a little fix for that, because we don't want buildings kind of burning down the end of the block. because they can't get here because of traffic. So I'll come up with a little idea for that one, and we'll try and sort that out in the next episode. So let's see, where were we? Just kind of constantly doing a little bit of maintenance. I think I had started to look at the import-export connections when that fire cropped up. You can see kind of what products people are importing, what they're exporting, and what tourism you have. So we don't have a lot of export on the map, which is okay. You know, where all the businesses are surviving pretty well. You know, we don't have a lot of abandoned buildings. We don't have a lot of abandoned buildings. We don't have a lot of unemployment. So there's really not too much to worry about there. Tourism-wise, you can see kind of the commercial, especially the stuff that's been zoned off as tourism, like over here. You know, this is where people are coming to visit from off-map. So you want to make sure that your airports, highway connections, and eventually train, which the commuter rail is not hooked up to the outside world yet. Somebody had mentioned that if you don't have it hooked up to the outside world, I don't really need these bypass lanes, but I am planning ahead, and eventually we will connect the outside rail to some of our inside lines in some sort of way. I want to try and do it with a minimal overlap, maybe even 2 stations right next to one another, one that takes people in from the outside, and then the other station right across the street that connects to our internal line. But if we do connect it to the same internal line, we want to make sure that we have those bypass lanes so that stations don't get backed up. But they're a little less than ideal in some of the ways that I crammed them in, and they're eating up a ton of space that otherwise could be zonable right here. So I'm definitely thinking at some point we're going to want to revamp those a little bit and tighten those up. Let's take a quick run down the line of our trains, make sure that there's no train backup happening in any of the stations. Looks good. Kind of looks like there's one at every stop, which is fine by me. We've got a cargo train and some shipping coming in at the same time here. Excellent. Another cargo train coming in. So everything looks like it's moving good. No backups on the railways. Let's take a look at our traffic flow up and down here, right? This one's becoming problematic again. It looks like it's just kind of a big slowdown for people getting on the highway here, not helping. And a little bit of a slowdown up here. It's not the end of the world, but it's not as good as I would like. And this intersection kind of goes up and down. But as you can see, again, I wanted to highlight the intersections we were having problems with right here and here, where this one was getting backed up so bad that it was affecting the ability of traffic to get on here and maybe even get off into the city this way. That has improved quite a bit. And a big part of that is just adding some bike lanes, giving some people ways to get around, and we added some metro service, just a basic loop around this area that connects into the metro for the rest of the town. Now, someone had asked about transport and how that is doing. You can see here that metro is definitely our heaviest used at 5,900 citizens per week. We've only got a couple basic bus lines, so it's kind of my fault that is not handling more. Trains are handling a little bit of traffic, and our monorail as well, handling a couple hundred people per week. But that really is just moving people around this loop. No, that is industry. That is just moving people around this loop right now. But this is starting to fill out, as you can see. We might be able to cram in another row of nightclubs back here next to the highway. I want to look at potentially zoning everything we can. We could move this train line to the opposite side of the highway. That would be fine, and that would free up a ton of room for us to zone over there. Over here is eventually where the cargo airport's going to be. And but yeah, we'd definitely be nice to cram in a little bit more zoning, maybe there. And also over here, we've got a lot of room to mess around with. So we don't want to build too close to the prison. That's going to kind of be its own thing off to the side of the map. But this could be zoned out with maybe a little low density. Maybe we could kind of hook it in up here on the hill. Now it's kind of awkward not having access to that tile. and this mound of dirt that we don't speak of. But we're gonna kind of find some ways to cram a couple bits of zoning in here still, and some of that might be tightening up the rail system. Some of it might be moving the rail over here. Maybe doing some office space or commercial that doesn't mind the noise so much of the airports, because those are big noise polluters. You can see definitely the worst offending zone in terms of spreading the noise around. You know, industry affects industry. It doesn't get too far beyond it. And, you know, the commercial zones are not great either, but you can see it even on a 2-lane street. You know, it starts to drop off. The metro stations are terrible. They're really noisy bubbles that you don't want to have anywhere near your residence. Unfortunately, I do have some of them. These people are definitely going to complain about noise sickness if they don't have good access to medical coverage, which right now we're in pretty good shape. But I bet the next time we see a noise sickness complaint, it's going to be people right here in this building that are whining about the garbage right now. How is our garbage coverage over there, actually? Might be a little bit far away. And we're good. That ultimate recycling plant is just doing wonders for the city. It's a great thing. So I will try and cram in a little bit of zoning. Maybe I'll try and do some designs and figure this out. I mean, it's not the end of the world, right? I think that did help improve just a little bit, but I'd like to separate this out where, you know, maybe there's a left exit, a right exit. If we just move this out a little bit, we could separate the traffic out so that it's not intersecting with one another, and can separately loop the people coming back in to the people trying to get out to the highway. That should speed things up. But then we've got the backup happening down here for all this traffic that wants to merge onto the highway. I mean, this highway just almost needs to just bend into this and become this slope, because that's where the most of my traffic is right now. It's always a constant battle. So I'll get to work on kind of a tune and a tweak here, right? I'll try and design a little something and start maybe the next episode with that. But again, I wanted to do some basic maintenance, keep the city growing. Got some plans for some future episodes, so stay tuned for those. They'll probably be, again, a little bit shorter over the next week while we try and get some stuff done around the house. But when March picks up, I've got some ideas for season 3 or maybe season 2.5 if we continue this build. But I will keep you posted here, as well as I'm in the final stages of setting up a little Discord. So if people want to join that, keep an ear out in the channel. And of course, if you want to follow me on Twitter, I usually just retweet a lot of gaming stuff and sometimes post some announcements there, but it's a good way to stay in touch. So hit me up on Twitter as well. I know it was a little different today, but hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button. Comments, shares also always help the channel and are greatly appreciated. If you're new here, subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications. And until the next one, this is Move the Mouse, signing off.